Hello, my name is Maureen and I'm from the Sunday School at the United Benefice of Holy Innocents and St Mark's. Today I'm going to talk about the presence of God in our lives all around us. Now, I'm going to tell you about one of my experiences, about my family. I have two brothers. One is older and lives in Essex, and the other one is younger and he lives in Australia. We've always been quite close, me and my brothers. But some years ago, we had a bit of a problem. In May 1991, my dad retired from his job at the Islington Council. Before then, my parents had started to prepare, to make plans for the future. My mum, she wanted to buy a place somewhere out of London. She had always dreamt of owning her own house. They didn't have a great deal of money, so they couldn't buy in the Islington area because it was too expensive. So they started to look further afield, and they sent off for information from all over the country. Then I had a thought. I wondered whether somewhere along the south coast might be nice. And I wondered whether they would be able to afford something along that area. So I mentioned it to my mum, and my mum sounded really keen. So we arranged to drive down to Bognor Regis and have a look round. And we went into estate agents, and my mum saw a bungalow that she liked in North Bursted. So we agreed that the details should be sent to my mum, and she made an offer on a bungalow. Now, after she'd made the offer, things started to move forward, and the solicitors started to put the papers together for the purchase. As time went on, they started to pack things away. And a few weeks before their move, we went to visit them from South London. And I said I was going to tell my brother, who lives in Essex. But my mum didn't want him to be told by me. So I said, well, fine. You want to tell him, that's fine. So although I'd already mentioned to my brother that they were moving and they were having a look at places down the south coast, I didn't mention the date. Then a few weeks later, and a few days before the move, my brother and his wife turned up and realised that the rented accommodation where my parents were living was full of boxes. My brother was furious and he blamed me, and he stopped talking to me. He decided he didn't want anything more to do with me. I tried to explain, I tried to ring him, I wrote to him, and he completely ignored me. He didn't want to know. It was a very sad time. And I started to pray very hard for some solution. And the years went by and the years went by and there was no word. And then out of the blue, my niece, Rhiannon, she got in touch. And even though her dad knew about it, she asked if we could meet. She had missed me. So we agreed to meet in Greenwich. And we met in a McDonald's in Greenwich and had a coffee and chatted, and I explained what had happened. And then afterwards we went for a walk. And following that, the ice began to melt. And my brother and me, we managed to get back on track. It's all behind us now, but God had stepped in. When I'd given up and I didn't have any hope that we were going to get back on track, God spoke. His presence was there. Just like our presence is around us. He made it possible. Now I'm going to read a prayer. Christ is with us. Christ is before us. Christ is behind us. Christ is to my left. Christ is to my right. And Christ is within us. Now there's an activity sheet that I'm going to send to you, and it's 3 discs, and you can cut out the discs if you wish and put a split pin in the middle to point to the different sentences, different phrases. And I'd like you to write a prayer for each of the different directions, as I've just mentioned in that prayer that I've read. God before us, God behind us, God to the left, God to the right, and God within us, or Christ within us. Thank you for listening to me today, and Anne will be with you next week. Goodbye.